There is a new clip of Larry Fink circulating around X, and it is very powerful. It's talking about the future of digital assets and how tokenization will play a form. The whole world's value is going to be tokenized over the next 10 to 20 years. And here in America, the connections between Ripple, the biggest blockchain infrastructure company in the world, and BlackRock, the biggest assets under management company in the world, these two are coming to a head. We've gotten a lot of new news over the last few months about these two companies working together. I also found a Jake Claver and Paul Barron clip specifically speaking about BlackRock. So let's first hear the new information that Larry Fink is telling the public here on CNBC, and then we're going to get into all of those connections and so much more. I hope you're doing well. Happy Tuesday. Let's jump into it.
What do you mean by digital?
I do believe we're just at the beginning of the tokenization of all assets, from real estate,
all assets,
to equities, to bonds, across the board.
It's very loud here.
It's very loud, but it's good. Capital's at work. Right?
You like that?
I love capital at work.
Yeah.
There's $4.1 trillion of money in globally in digital wallets. A lot of that money is outside the United States. If we could tokenize a ETF, and digitize that ETF, we could have investors who are just beginning to, invest in markets through, let's say, crypto. They're investing in it, but now we could get them into the more traditional long-term retirement products. So we look at that as the next wave of opportunity for BlackRock over the next.
The goal here is to get new customers, and those new customers are young people. Young people are very interested in crypto, more so interested in crypto than traditional finance. So how do you get these customers to eventually get to where you want them to be? Well, you go to where they are. Brilliant.
Tens of years as we start focusing, moving away from, traditional financial assets by repotting them in a digital manner, and then having people stay in that digital ecosystem. They can have their cash, and we have the largest cash money market fund that's tokenized called BITL. Our Bitcoin IBIT is now over $100 billion.
I know, from nothing not that long ago.
Around 2 years ago, zero.
Yeah, I know. Well, you know it's a huge proponent of crypto, as we know.
Yep.
I love it.
But I grow and learn.
I heard you say that on 60 Minutes. I did. Yeah.
All right, it's a little weird. They have to mute each other's
do believe
microphones.
We're just at the.
They have to mute each other's microphones because there's so much noise. But you heard him bring up BillDill, and we're going to show you some connections here between Ripple, BlackRock, and through this BillDill system. BlackRock and Ripple have established a direct connections through tokenization initiatives, right? What Larry Fink was just talking about, primarily focused on institutional money market funds and stablecoin integration. These connections unfolded through partnerships with Securitize, a leading tokenization platform, bridging BlackRock's tokenization fund BillDill and VanEck's treasury fund VBill to Ripple's RLUSD stablecoin on chain. Now, BlackRock has $12.5 trillion under management. They only have about $2 billion into this fund. So you can see we're not even at 0.25% or, anywhere near that. This is the very beginning, just like Larry Fink said. BlackRock USD Institutional Digital Liquidity Fund BillDill is tokenized via Securitize, which issues digital shares representing on-chain. Ripple's RLUSD stablecoin acts as an institutional off-ramp, allowing investors in BlackRock's BillDill and VanEck's VBill to instantly swap their tokenized fund shares for RLUSD, providing 24/7 on-chain liquidity and settlement management. This partnership extends the utility and footprint of both RLUSD and the XRP ledger within the real-world asset tokenization sector. To give you another understanding here, these money market funds, there's about $7.4 trillion worth of value in money market funds, and this value is going to be coming on chain. And when you have a solution like Ripple for settlement of these funds via the blockchain rails, I'd imagine that if it's good enough for BlackRock, it's good enough for anybody else. And just wanted to show you some additional information here on Securitize. I wanted to look at the partnership a little bit deeper. Some of this information that we've already had. BillDill can be used as collateral on lending platforms like Crypto.com, exchange on Deribit, and demonstrating liquidity on DeFi interoperability beyond Ripple integration. So I just want to give you that additional context as well. And then I wanted to show you this. Ripple and Securitize announced a key partnership that integrates Ripple's RLUSD stablecoin into Securitize's tokenization platform. So that's how those two are connected. Now, I did want to play this clip between Paul Barron and Jake Claver. Let's start it.
It starts to put in the theory that how is Ripple and BlackRock seeming to almost pace each other left and right here? And there's a lot of, there's some conspiracy theories. We won't go down that rabbit hole, but explain to me why you think these two companies are in so unique lockstep.
Well, after 2008, BlackRock's whole premise, and you know, I've said this before, and I think it's plausible that they could be a proxy for the government to be able to make sure that the stock market and everything's maintained. Other countries, you know, just buy stocks directly. We can't do that here in the U.S. So you need something to be able to add stability to markets. But their whole objective has been to repackage the debt and kind of float that out over time so that it wouldn't be one big impact on the economy. And so that's, you know, kind of the same thesis here. I think if you saw a large impact to the economy coming and you needed a liquidity buffer, I think XRP could provide a really good solution for that, to be able to route through the DEX and mitigate the breaking of systems, to be able to settle stuff on the back end. And then also, you know, we have 1933 when they revalued gold and offset our debt.
Yes.
Right. To revalue gold to the level it would need to be to offset the debt at this point would be astronomical. And a lot of people are betting on that. Right?
There's a few of them out there. Andy Schechtman, who's been on my show before, he believes that's going to be the model to reset the system, is a gold back debt reduction of just, you know, revaluing gold, you know, to what they think it would be, is around $30,000 an ounce.
Yeah, it would have to be. It currently sits at like $42 and change on the Fed's balance sheet, right? So it's not even up to what it is today. But if you had another mechanism by which you just start leveraging or utilizing an asset that was also sitting on balance sheets, you have assets and liabilities, right? And so if your liabilities are way up here and your assets are down, but you could just start using that asset and it would drive the value up, you don't have to reprice it.
Yeah.
That would be a really interesting way for them to be able to offset a large majority of the debt. And I think a lot of people have already put that thought forth with the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, let's buy a bunch of Bitcoin in the US, and as it appreciates, you know, the balance sheet looks a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think the point being behind this is we are in such a unique time. It's like I say a lot of times, is that it's very similar to the birth of the internet, but this is the birth of the new finance infrastructure. We haven't seen this in our lifetime. You know, this is all the way back to Bretton Woods, essentially, which is essentially, if you look at when Bretton Woods happened, all the way through the...
All right. Make sure to follow either one of those guys. They know a lot of information about what's going on out here in the crypto space. Let's move on here. Securitize. If you want to follow their updates, this is what their X is. Maybe I should follow their updates. Come on, Sensei. What used to take days in finance can now happen instantly with stablecoins. The integration of Ripple's RLUSD into tokenized fund products represents a step toward practical adoption of blockchain-based cash equivalents in capital markets. With BlackRock's BillDoll and VanEck's VBill, treasuries carry the strength of the dollar on chain through Securitize, the world's largest issuer of tokenized securities. The interesting part here is VanEck only has, I think, like 72 million on chain, and they have several hundred billion under management. And then, of course, we've seen the connections between BlackRock, Ondo, and Ripple here. As you can see in this commercial on the board, they had RLUSD, they had Benji, they had BillDoll, they had so many things here showing all of these different connections. Goldman Sachs, Citibank on this side, XRP Ledger up here on the top. You do start to wonder.
At Ondo, we started out by building tokenized treasuries. In order to build institutional grade products like OUSG, we really need to work with partners that have a focus on institutional grade standards and 24/7 instant convertibility. So we're really excited to finally be able to bring OUSG to XRP Ledger, the decentralized public blockchain, to continue to build institutional grade cash products alongside Ripple. That's something that a lot of our institutional clients have been really drawn to. It's about routing capital and assets to make a financial system that is ultimately faster, fairer, and more accessible to everyone. Tokenization is not just a pilot or a stepping stone, but actually has real commercial utility today. And we've seen that in the numbers, 200 billion plus in stablecoins, 5 billion plus in tokenized treasuries, and our offerings now between OUSG and RLUSD are used every day, constantly in production. We have real investors instantly minting and redeeming, in many cases, tens of millions of dollars at a single point in time. And this is that watershed inflection point moment.
Watershed inflection point moment, right? And you also have some connections here into infrastructure through some of these Ripple acquisition and partners. I played this clip before, but I think it speaks to a larger thing that we're trying to talk about here as far as XRP, RLUSD, and Ripple being interconnected into some of the biggest financial market infrastructures or biggest financial players in the world, right? In the world. It doesn't get bigger than BlackRock and Citi and you know, these JP Morgans and these things. Like, they're all working on a version of tokenization, stable coins, and all of these things. We just saw 10 of the largest banks in the world are getting together to build maybe a super stable coin that each bank is going to be able to use to transact. You start to wonder, right, who is going to hold all of that, right? If you are a bank, you really don't want to hold another bank's liability. So is it going to be a stable coin that the 10 banks create and every bank's going to put in a few $100 million and they're going to use that? Like, I'm interested to see how all that plays out, but let me play this for you.
Look, recently we've spoken about Hidden Road, the brokerage service coming in, and their use of the XRP ledger and the RLUSD token, the stable coin, as collateral, and that's just been confirmed by CEO Brad Garlinghouse recently. But then, out of the blue, Ripple decides they want to go for as a federal bank. Getting a license to be a bank from the OCC, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, and then also possibly apply for a Fed master account. And I'm just like blown away. It is a massive move. So if it comes off, it hasn't come off yet, but if it does come off, well, you know, there's some serious value there. So yes.
All right, there's some serious value there. And then we're also waiting on the ETF filings. There's been a lot of movement here over the last few days. We're going to have to see if these can be approved with the government still shut down here in the United States. We are starting to enter the end of week 2 here, and there's a lot of people uncomfortable on both sides. We here in the crypto market are kind of, you know, last in line here, but we are expecting a very good ending to October. Hopefully things can get worked out and we can move forward with some of these approvals. The question is, the government stays shut down like into November. Is this going to push these ETFs back till then? That is what I'm more focused on right now. All right, guys, let me know if you got any value from the video. You can like it. You can share the video. You can leave a comment down below. I appreciate your time. Thank you for being here. Aloha.